There we go.
Trying to
I have a high IQ. My mother had me tested. You know who says that, right? Sheldon Cooper.
Oh yeah, from Big Bang.
Yeah, we got to include the outrageous Sheldon Cooper story after the elephants, Jonathan.
Oh, I bet you've got a lot of good stories.
I do.
Well, he's an entertainer. He has to, for sure.
I love, when you said how you introduce, you don't like people to introduce you. I thought, okay, well, how can we introduce Elliot without us introducing him? Because you like to introduce yourself.
Well, let me tell you, if people were introducing me, when a lot of times when you hear a speaker or a keynoter, they'll say, Dr. So-and-so went to the University of, got his doctorate from University of Idaho. Have you ever seen someone raise their hand and say, excuse me, do you have a speaker that went to Georgia Tech or went to University of Georgia, got his degree from there? I mean, nobody cares about that.
No.
But,
Yeah, it's a good point. So Jonathan, did you tell him? So we'll do a little, we're already rolling live, but have you hit audio yet?
Yeah, we're about to go live on the audio or start up the podcast. Then we'll do a couple of minutes. We'll get into our beverage before we get into the topic. And then we'll go from there.
Good.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, and 1. Blast off. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. And we have a special guest with us today. Another special guest.
Another one.
Elliot Jaffa. Or is it Jaffa or Jaffa? How do we want to say it?
You can call me anything except late for dinner, okay?
Oh, yeah, that's important.
You get a late applause, too, while you're at it. Yeah. By the way, that's doctor, too. So you have a PhD. Is it in behavioral psychology? Is that your background?
Yeah, that's my forte is behavioral psychology, but I essentially call myself a marketing and management psychologist.
Wow.
So I work with companies more so than individual therapy or that type of thing. I did that when my hair was a different color. I don't dye it this color, guys.
I thought that was the new rage, like the girls are going platinum blonde. I thought that was that was a new thing. Just I go the opposite route.
Is it on straight?
Yeah, I just shave it all off now. I just went with the COVID buzz and shaved it all off. So, but so we're gonna be talking. Jonathan, you sent me an email yesterday, and you're like, "Hey, I found this guest for the podcast tomorrow. We're going to talk about the art of showmanship during times of adversity." Yeah. So, I mean, I know that's not really relevant to today's times, because everything's pretty easy going. But if it were to ever become adverse out there, we got the guy that can help us through it.
If it weren't so boring, we could show some examples of this in play. But
right, exactly.
Things have been really dull lately.
Yeah.
So, we'll just rely on Elliot's stories.
Exactly. So you up for that, Dr. Elliot?
I am.
Cool.
Dr. Elliot. Cool.
You like that?
Okay.
Sure. Or would you prefer Dr. Jaffa?
How about Elliot?
Okay, just Elliot.
Who's your audience? Are they going to be impressed that you found a doctor, or
No, probably not.
Okay, it's Elliot.
Yeah,
it takes a lot to impress them. So
yeah,
but I think they'll be impressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be in addition to showmanship, we're going to be talking about current events. Elliot's got some short stories he's going to share with us. As many of, the way we want to introduce him is he's got 25 years of training and management experience, but no one cares about that. He is a dynamic, high energy professional keynote speaker who's going to share some really cool stories about showmanship and marketing and making yourself stand out. So he's got some great examples, but you've worked with a lot of companies, Elliot. I'm excited to have you on and share some case studies, some real life examples, because you've been doing this for quite a long time. So
I have, when my hair was a different color.
Absolutely. Maybe that's what I guess that's what turned the color, or because I don't.
No. After when I quote my fee, I tell them they got to pay for the gray hair, the white hair. You want somebody 25 years old? Fine. You want a budget? Fine. You got to pay for the experience.
Yeah, the wisdom.
There you go.
All right.
Well, before, John, what do we have to do before we start?
Yeah, we got to talk some beverages or pints. Elliot, he went next level on his pint selection. We let the guests go first. So why don't you tell the people what you brought for your pint on the show today?
When you said pint, I realized I wasn't sure what kind. So I just finished my pint, which was a pint of Ben & Jerry's bourbon pecan pie ice cream. And then in the freezer, I got another pint of Ben & Jerry's bourbon ice cream. So I didn't realize when you meant pint, you meant the kind you drink.
Yeah, this is probably a whole new show category we could go off on, Jonathan. Especially getting into summer months, like we could certainly do some Ben & Jerry pints for sure.
I would love to do a pint of that type of ice cream for sure. I don't like the plain. I like getting into really, new different flavors that I've never had before. So
both those sounded pretty good. Sounded really good, both of those. Well, Jonathan, why don't you go next? Tell the people what you got. All
right, today, and I don't even have a glass today. I forgot my glass, so I'm going to go real simple out of a can. I've got a from Jackalope Brewing Company. I have a Bear Walker. Very, very manly. This is the manliest beer that you might have. I'm actually going camping. It's a family camping trip this weekend, so I got a lot of this Bear Walker beer for the trip. So we'll see. It better be good.
Yeah,
but it's just an ale. About five. It's 5.1 ABV. Not really high.
Yeah,
but
that's good. You don't want the kids drinking, anything too strong on the camping trip.
That's right. Especially when you're out on a kayak, canoe, doing a little swimming. So
yeah.
All right. So what do you got?
So mine, I thought, based on the topic today, that this might fit. It's called The Statement of Purpose. Well, it's hard to see with the glare.
Statement of Purpose.
There we go. The Statement of Purpose.
Now that's an interesting can.
Yeah, so it's a local another Texas brewery, Martin House Brewing Company. So it's got a little picture of a Martin on it, some pretty bushes, and then but then it comes around. It's a peanut butter golden stout.
Ooh.
And it's 8% alcohol by volume. And just a warning, I started doing intermittent fasting again. So I'm on a 20-hour fast, 4-hour eating window. And this is what I'm breaking my fast with today. So just so you know, I do have some peanuts and pretzels over here if I need them, but as backup. I thought this looked pretty good. And the can definitely caught my attention. It's out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth. It's a unique can.
Yeah. Made in Texas by Texans. So there you go. What part of the country are you in, Elliot?
I'm in Northern Virginia. So I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, about 10 minutes from all the monuments.
Oh, wow.
So,
so you're right there. How are things right now up in your area?
Things are quiet. They lifted the curfew.
Okay.
That's been on for the last couple nights. No curfew because people fortunately were behaving themselves last night.
Yeah.
Cool. So when you say Northern Virginia outside of DC, which town? I was actually served in DC when I was in the military.
I'm in Arlington, Virginia.
Okay. Yeah. So I was at Fort Myer for 3 years.
So I'm 10 minutes from Fort Myer.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Home of the original Five Guys, by the way. Five Guys.
Really? I didn't realize that.
The number 2 Five Guys was 2 blocks from me. They tore it down. Number 1 was, near Fort Myer. Right. And the number 2 one is like 2 blocks up the street, but they tore it down and building a shopping residential area.
Yeah. So I remember when Five Guys started franchising, I was so excited because we used to go there all the time when I was in the military. And I was so worried it wasn't going to be the same. And I got in there and they did a great job franchising. It's
better.
Yeah.
Better let the people know, listeners know that Five Guys is a hamburger joint.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah, definitely best fries. And I mean,
all right, Sean, you're in Texas, so and you know from experience better than Whataburger.
Different, like Whataburger's got some unique burgers, and they're big. Like I love the Whataburger burgers because they're big. I go to Five Guys for the fries. That's really the reason you go there. So, but anyway, so we've digressed long enough. I'm gonna say cheers.
Cheers.
There we go. Pretty good stuff right there.
Oh yeah, mine's good too. So
yeah, well that's good. You had a bad streak there for a little while, so I'm glad you found one that was working for you.
No hoppiness in this whatsoever. So based off of a second sip, I think we're going. I think we got like a 3.8 going there.
All right, I'll go with I'll go with the same. I'm about 3.8. So we do a 5.5 pint scale, Elliot, on our beverage. So you got to rate your ice cream that you had earlier on a 1 to 5 point pint scale. Where would it rank?
Hold it. Let me just make an observation. The show is called Persuasion with a Pint, right?
By the pint, yeah.
By the pint. Yep.
By the pint. And I'm thinking of, you probably get your beer for free for drinking it, that I'm going to start a podcast called Persuasion with a porterhouse steak.
I like it. It worked.
So if you see me making notes or looking down, it's because I got this new gig that I got to get started on while it's still up here.
Yeah, we don't
reach out to Omaha Steaks. They could be your sponsor.
First call, Omaha Steaks. You got
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. One of my clients that I'm working with right now, one of their clients is Farmer's Cart, which has some really like grass-fed steaks, good stuff. Not a promo, but just good to know. So, yeah, let's dive in, Elliot, and find out what you're all about and what you can share with our readers, our listeners. And
yeah,
we're excited. I'll let Jonathan drive.
Well, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your background? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into the business? I know a lot of your business is in business management. But it sounds to me like from reading your bio, you're you come from a different angle. You know how to set yourself apart, obviously, in just talking with you, and you do some pretty dynamic things to get attention. And we're going to talk about, kind of the art of showmanship, what's the greatest showman?
P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum. There we go. And, did you ever see the Greatest Showman movie? Either of you guys?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I loved it. It was fantastic. But I've actually got a biography of P.T. Barnum, and it's been a while since I've read it. But in terms of showmanship, he was a master at getting people in the seats and getting people to buy tickets, and he knew exactly. And there's another guy that is similar to him that's been more recent, Alfred Hitchcock. I've read a biography about him, and I didn't realize he was as much of a showman as he was. I guess he was a little more subtle, because most people think of really more of a subdued type person, but he knew the art of marketing and showmanship as well. And, that's kind of what our topic is today, is just how to stand out, how to set yourself apart. And we're going to actually tiptoe into a little politics, not getting into the actual politics, but the theater, so to speak, of politics and what we're seeing today in our time of turmoil. But before we do that, Elliot, why don't you share a little bit about your background?
Okay, to get the straight lace stuff out of the way first, I went to college. Originally wanted to be a dentist, and I didn't get good grades in chemistry, and then I wanted to be a mortician, and my mother wasn't crazy about that. So I took a course in psychology, and I said, I like this. So after I graduated, I went ahead and got a master's in clinical psychology, went on for a doctorate. And my first job, I do behavior modification. And in those days, back in the mid 60s, behavior modification was very new. And we were the bad guys because we worked with severely emotionally disturbed children, behavior problems, autism, and we rewarded children with Cheerios or M&Ms. So we're treating the children like animals. And believe it or not, all the school systems wanted to come and visit the school. So gentleman was starting a school. It was me and 4 kids. In 4 years, we grew to 135 kids. And I put that school in the black in 2 years. Now, this is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit. You and I couldn't open up a restaurant, a retail store, and put it in the black in 2 years. And I'm doing this with a 501c3. Then I went on and did the same thing again with one of the hospitals in the Washington, D.C. area, wanted another school, put that in the black in a year and a half. Then I realized one of the 2 mistakes I made in life was not getting an MBA rather than the doctorate. I should have kept my master's in clinical psych, got an MBA, because that's what I was doing. So I set the goal to retire at age 35, which I did. Everything since then has been, whatever I wanted to do with whomever I wanted to do it with. So I look at the problem. What problem is this company having? And it's by observation and watching the employees, looking at, they didn't even have websites in those days, but looking at websites. And the first question I'll ask the chief executive is, what's your company's 2 biggest problems? And it's usually make the cash register ring louder, which is a marketing issue, or some type of people problem, which essentially is training. So I developed about 20 soft skills training programs, and I created a couple new things that most C-level executives never heard. One is a marketing audit, which is how to generate more revenue. And the other one is omni-channelization. And omni-channelization is a business concept which is doing what Amazon can't do. Amazon can get it to you tomorrow. Amazon can get it to you cheap. But you can't talk to a live person unless it has to do with delivery of the product. So, and you can appreciate this, Jonathan, because you're a relationship guy. In my business, the first goal, the major goal I have is to get that person to like me. Why? Because I got to like them. We're in a relationship. When I say that person, it could be my mechanic, it could be my surgeon, it could be my hairdresser. I don't have a hairdresser. I could be my, any person with whom I'm doing business. And that's one of the questions I always ask somewhere along the line is drop in the question, say, do you like me? And they laugh. And most of the time they say, yeah. Of course, I could read them if they don't like me. I know what they say. But they're polite about it. But the thing is that, when I'm working with a client, I got 3 requirements. I got to like the person I'm dealing with. So therefore, I got minutes to sell myself. Sure. Secondly, it's got to be financially rewarding. And lastly, it's got to be fun. So people say, Elliot, what do you care if Jonathan's check doesn't clear? I'm not getting a check, am I?
I'm afraid not.
You get a link to the recording.
But anyway,
which is worth more than a check, maybe. I don't know.
I hope so. So the thing is that, you got to get the person to like you, and it has to be fun. The third thing is fun. So we're in a relationship with that person. I mean, just like to give you a personal example, yesterday I've been having some neck problems, and I started physical therapy. And about halfway into the session, I said to the physical therapist, "Do you like me?" Yeah, I do. A big smile breaks out on my face. I mean, this woman is going to be, taking aches and pains out of my neck in the next few weeks. But the important thing is, if she likes me, she's going to do a better job.
So let's dive into that, because I don't want to just gloss over that, Elliot. So why do you ask that question? Because a lot of people be like, that's a really awkward question. So what's going on from a behavioral psychologist standpoint when you ask somebody that question?
Well, first of all, I'm a fun guy, so I'm breaking the ice with them. But before I'll ask that question, and you gentlemen probably have interviewed people for jobs or been to interviews yourself in your careers. And one of the questions is, they'll say, Jonathan, tell me about your 3 best assets, or tell me the thing you're most proud of. So when people ask that question to me in that initial meeting, I'll say, I mean, I could share things with you, sir, ma'am. How about if I tell you the 2 biggest mistakes I made in my life? They've never heard that before. So now I threw the fish line out and I'm going to slowly lure them in. So ask me what my 2 biggest mistakes were. I just shared one with you, not getting an MBA, rather than a doctorate, which is really a mistake. But what did I do? I worked into that conversation that I'm educated. I didn't have to brag about it. I didn't have to, work. The second mistake I made was when I was a teenager. The biggest mistake was not getting Buddy Holly's autograph when I saw him live. But I did have a 1.5-second conversation with him. And people are amazed. You saw Buddy Holly? You're from Texas. You know where Lubbock is.
Yeah.
So that's the key thing, getting the person to like you. They got to like me before they like my service. Their customer has to like them before they like their service or product. Their customer has to like them before they like the company, before they do business with them. But it starts with you and how you come across. I mean, I could politely come to your interview, answer all your questions, and not get the job.
Yeah.
But I might stop the interview and say, hey, Sean, you want to see a card trick? Right now, do you want to see a card trick? You'll say, sure. I'll say, you got a deck of cards? You'll say, no. I'll say, think of a card. And I'll tell you that card in a minute and a half. So you'll say, hey, how'd you do that? I'm on a job interview and they want to see card tricks. On my resume, I don't have a resume.
Right.
I don't have a resume. I use it I got an 8-word resume. But the thing is that on my resume, I've I'm educated. I've written articles. You know what the 2 things they pick up on? One of my most fun clients, which was Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, cool as could be. And 2, that I've been a guest on Donahue and Oprah. They don't care about the education. They don't care about, you were on Oprah? And I'm going like this, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has anyone ever, when you've asked that question before, has anyone ever said, no, I don't like you?
not out loud, but I could see it, the way they're stuttering and, whatever. But that's okay. Nobody gives out a trophy or an award for the best liked person. So there's people that like me. There's people that they don't like me, but that's okay. But you want to find the people who like you because you're building that relationship. And whether you need a ride to the airport or whether you need a favor, they're going to say yes to you. Yeah. In business, it's the sale. Sale. Find the person who could say yes.
Yeah, I love your 3 things. Like, I'm getting some feedback, Jonathan. I don't know if that's.
I think that's on Elliot's end because I think that your external speakers. Let's see.
Yeah. So anyway, I like the 3 things. I have to like the individual. The task has to be financially rewarding, and the work has to be fun. I mean that's a great.
Money. You forgot the money part.
Yeah, rewarding, financially rewarding, right? Yeah. So, but I mean that's a great like triplet or a way to like gauge projects that you're going to be involved in. Business deals you're going to be involved in. Most people only look at number 2. Financially rewarding, and they ignore the other 2, liking the individual and the work being fun. And I would expect that would probably cause a lot of heartache.
One of the questions I'll teach somebody looking for a job, whether it's someone right out of school in their first job or whether it's someone with 20 years experience, at the end of the interview, the person's going to say, do you have any questions for me? And I always say, what's the culture of your company? To see, they've never been asked that question. I mean, do you have a foosball table? Do you have free snacks for the employees? I'll ask, tell me about last year's Christmas party. Was it one where you could bring your significant other in a nice restaurant or a hotel, or was it a covered dish dinner at lunchtime on the Friday before Christmas? So, all good things come to those who ask.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like if you were interviewing, I mean, anybody really. I mean, I think that's a very telling question. What was your last Christmas party like?
You know what you're getting into. You're getting into a company we'll give you T-shirts and clothing and have fun, or you bring your kid to work day, or bring your pet to work day, or is it going to be cheapskates?
Yeah. By the way, what kind of dog do you have? I can just barely see him in the back corner.
Border Collie.
Oh, okay.
But Simon.
Simon. All right. Cool. Yeah. So tell us. Now you're all about showmanship. So tell us about the art of showmanship. And Jonathan, I think you reached out, like how you see showmanship playing out right now in the real world and kind of the big media stage that we're seeing. With these last few events, COVID, and then the protests and the riots and those kind of things. Like, what are you seeing from your behavioral psychologist standpoint? What are you seeing out there as far as showmanship goes?
Okay, I'm going to give you both ends of the extreme.
Cool.
I'll do the serious one last. Okay, let's say I'm doing a training program. There's whether it's 25 people in the room or 250 people in the room. First thing I do as they're walking in, I'll introduce myself. So I'll say to you, hi, let me introduce myself. My name's Elliot Jaffa. Notice I didn't say doctor. They knew that when they registered, they came, they were told to be there. And they'll say, my name's Sean. I'll say, excuse me. And you'll say Sean again. Sean. Oh, nice to meet you, Sean. I just used your name 5 times.
Okay.
I'll offer to shake hands. We don't do that anymore because of the situation, but we've made physical contact. You assess that I'm not diseased. We've already made eye contact, and I've smiled at you. Remember, my goal was to get you to like me. Mm-hmm. When that seminar starts or when that presentation starts, somewhere along the line, I'm going to say real quick, well, as Sean was telling me, the reason he's here today, or what Jonathan mentioned to me before the seminar started, he'd like to learn how to. And within 19 minutes, someone's going to raise their hand and say, hey, how do you memorize everybody's name? And I say, I'm not Kreskin. And they're impressed that I could do that. Now, I really didn't memorize everybody's name, but I can remember a lot of names. So, right. I'm getting them to like me. Now, let's go to what you said on the other extreme. And talking about the world situation today, let's talk about COVID-19. Every day in the late afternoon, a month ago, doctors Burke and Fauci were on TV literally every afternoon, correct?
Correct.
So the 2 key points they stressed every time they spoke was social distancing and wear a mask. Yeah. So if I were Dr. Fauci, suppose he came up and pulled out his mask and showed you how to put the mask on, but he's got a funny mask with, let's say, teeth, but there's spinach on one tooth, that he says, well, excuse me, I think there's some spinach on my mask. And, you bring some humor in there to make him a more likable guy. We know right. He's a scientist. We know he's smart. So he's bringing in something like that. Then suppose he brought a yardstick and says, I want you to be 6 feet from each other. Brings a yardstick. Cameras are going to back up, the camera. And he lays it out on the floor with a piece of chalk. He says, here's 3 feet. Here's 3 more feet. That's 6 feet. So think of 2 yardsticks. But he's got 2 physical props. He's got the mask and he's got a yardstick. So he's got something using as a prop. Now you're liking him even more. Or he did the mask and Dr. Burks said, oh, Dr. Fauci, what about the 6 feet? And she hands him the yardstick or she measures it out. So you see, you're getting a little bit of a more likable rating rather than talking at. Yes. And I, we're having a conversation. This is what it should be, rather than talking at you. When you asked me to talk about my background, we were having a conversation about it rather than me like I'm going down a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. People don't want to hear that stuff. They heard it in high school. In high school, the teacher said the 3 key points of oxygen are, what do? We picked up our pencil and wrote down 1, 2, 3 and wrote it down. So that's why, showmanship's important. And it goes to everything that you do in business. Like, for example, Jonathan, you want to know, should we tell them the elephant story now?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
Well,
right.
wait. Before we go to the elephant story,
All right, go ahead.
so hold your place, but I don't want to lose this question
Okay.
because what's going in the back of my head, because I've worked with enough clients and corporate people and things like that, is they're going to be like, oh, I can't do that with my company. Like bringing out a prop or being a little bit silly. Like you might have said with the example of the Fauci's mask with spinach in their teeth or something like that. What do you say to that?
Depends on who I'm talking to, but I mean, here's a good example. Just the end of last year, I had a meeting with the number 3 person of a major sports franchise that's on TV, you know, whatever, one of the big 4. And the person was real educated, and I liked him, but he was scared stiff to go outside of his comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
He, you know, reports to the owners, and he's afraid of the owners. Not that they're not nice people, but he wants to do what every other team in that, you know, business does. And right then and there, in my mind, the interview was over. You know, we talked a little bit more, but you know, I didn't want him because I knew I would never he would be afraid to go outside of his comfort zone. But he was impressed of the homework I did. Mm-hmm. And I'll bring up a good example. I said, you know, if a company across the street was doing a sales training program and I was hired, you know who I would bring in to talk for 20 minutes? He said, who? I said, Howard. He says, Howard, who's Howard? I says, think about it. He says, you mean Howard Hart, the guy that sells beer? I said, yeah. Howard is probably a 60-some-year-old guy with gray hair, ponytail. But if you watch him, he knows how to work the crowd and building that relationship in seconds when he doesn't toss the beer up and shake it up or whatever, but he builds that relationship 5 rows, 20 rows in front of me. And I love to watch him because he's working for what? The tip. So this guy, I knew, you know, we weren't going to do business, but he was taking copious notes, which did tell me he liked what he heard. Otherwise, he wouldn't be taking those copious notes. But what I did have when I came in for the interview, the meeting, we were at a conference table, so we're sitting adjacent to each other. I had a bag from a bagel shop and just set it down right at the beginning. I wanted to see, there's my lure. So I was waiting for him to say, did you bring bagels? What's in the bag? So I said to him, don't you want to know what's in the bag? He says, well, you see, he's mumbling. He's, you know, caught him off guard. So I said to him, here, take a look. It's for your daughter. And it was a Beanie Baby. He says, wow, thank you. He says, actually, today's her birthday, and I'll give this to her. And I said, you know what you could do? You could take credit because she has no idea who Elliot Jaffa is. So, you know, again, I walked out of there with him liking me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it was not a match for us. So, you know, with trade shows, I live in the Washington, D.C. area. I go to a lot of trade shows, and you've been to trade shows. There's, you know, hundreds of booths. There's thousands of attendees. And now it's time for a test question, guys. Whatever your business is, I can guarantee I can get 95% of the attendees to your booth. What would I have to do? And people like yourselves, now you know the answer, would say, well, you'd have to give away something good. Like what? Well, maybe a TV set. I said, better. I'm going to give everybody who comes to the booth a new Mercedes. But I'm never going to get 95% because there's going to be more than 10% who say, I only drive American, and they're going to refuse me. So what do I have to do? I says, we're going to rent a baby elephant. And then they'll either say out loud or think to themselves, what, are you crazy? That's when I know they love the idea. Because if I told you that football players down there, oh, I hate that team. That country singer's over there. Oh, I hate country music. I don't even like her. But if I told you there's a baby elephant, remember, it's 4 feet tall, 350 pounds. It's playful, a trunk. You could pet the trunk. You're going to walk down that aisle and see it. But
who's going to hate a baby elephant, right? That's the whole point. No one's going to hate a baby elephant.
But my first client with the elephant, I'm talking to the director of marketing, and he says, the president will never approve it. I says, ask him. The next morning, 9 o'clock, the phone rings. He says, Elliot, Howard says, get the elephant. So the thing is that you can't afford the baby elephant, right? So
Right.
let's go to plan B. Well, what do I do at plan B for the showmanship? I'm staying on target. Okay, are these pens and flashlights and note papers, stuff you give away with your brochures? Oh, yeah. Get this crap off the table. I want it all off this table. I want you to go to Petco, PetSmart, and get a 5-gallon aquarium for $20. Okay. I want you to fill it with water and put a rock in it. Okay. I want you to set it right there in the middle with this sign. And I'll show them on the phone. You know what the sign says? Japanese invisible fish. Now, here's what people are doing. Within 10 minutes, there's a dozen people around the booth constantly looking. And I'll say to you, you got a name tag on. Remember, we're at a trade show. I'll say, Sean, do you want two things? Do you want to feed the fish? I got a bucket of ice. Feed the fish, and that's what they eat. And you'll take an ice cube, go ahead, and they're like this. Scared stiff to drop it in, or I'll say, Sean, there's 16 fish in there. Put your finger in there. Keep your hand still. They're not going to bite you, but you'll feel them tip tapping against your finger. 20% of the people feel the tip tapping.
That's
okay.
crazy.
Let's go to the key thing. I got to follow up on my leads. Now, I've already qualified you as a qualification of a lead is someone who the name, phone number, email address of the person who could say yes to the sale, or someone who needs your service or product. So I call you next week. Hi, Sean, this is Elliot. You stopped by my booth in Washington, D.C. I stopped by a lot of booths in Washington, D.C. last week. Well, I think you were one of the people that fed my Japanese invisible fish. Oh, yeah, I remember you. Well, let me tell you why I'm calling, Sean. Oh, God, here comes the sales pitch. Sean, the fish died. We need to have a conversation. So I get the chuckle the second time. Now you're liking me. So we can segue into. So you see how showmanship can work in person. It can work on the phone. It could work on an email. It could work on your website, on your homepage.
So, but still, I'm going to go back to the same question. Like, so if you find somebody that says that, well, that won't work in my business, you just like, okay, fine. And you just move on to somebody else, like, and let the people who get it.
But even if they don't get it, just tell you what, Sean, do you want to do a trade? I'll tell you what, I'm going to come to your trade show. You got to pay my fee. If you don't like the results you get, you don't write me a check. You get your check back. I'm going to give you a money back guarantee. So let's talk about qualified leads. You got how many people are going to be at your booth? 4. What are you looking for over a 2-day period? Well, I'd like to come away with 25 qualified leads. Okay. If I get you 35, 50 qualified leads, do I get to keep the check? If not, you get it back. So how many businesses put themselves on the line? You know how many checks I've returned in my life? 0. It's a money back guarantee. Oh, you got to pay for my airfare to get me there so I can get home. But aside from that, and remember, I charge a lot of money. So I'm going to offer you a money back guarantee.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I'll do. If the person still says no, okay, he doesn't like me, she doesn't like me. I mean, I offered this with before we started taping today. The chief nursing officer of the local hospital in Arlington called Virginia Hospital Center was on TV. Years ago, I was talking to her predecessor, who was the director of nursing, because I do nurse recruitment and retention. She was listening to me, and I could read the bubble over her head. And I says, "You don't think this is going to work, do you?" And she says, "No." I says, "I'll give you a money back guarantee." And she was scared. I told her I live 15 minutes away. You don't have any travel expenses. And she was scared. So, what else could I do?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, so I guess it's people don't think necessarily that it's not going to work. They're scared that they might be embarrassed if it doesn't work.
Right.
But they love the idea.
They love the ideas, right? It's hard
Remember-
not to. I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, everything you've described, like you'd be like, oh yeah, that would work on me. But then there's a part of you that's like, oh, but I can't do that for my business because then that's too silly or it's too corny or whatever. But fact is, showmanship works. People love. We've said it on this show a bunch of times, Jonathan. Like people love to be entertained.
Well, here you go. The example is, I'm trying to back up to what the point you just made of people like to be entertained, and I forgot it. So it'll hit me. Oh, anyway.
That's right. We can edit. So
when I do trade show training, you're not just getting the elephant in the fish aquarium. You're getting a dozen things to do. So you guys have to said what fits your personality. So Jonathan likes these two of the dozen I give you. You like these two. The goal is to get the qualified lead. And if you get that, you don't make sales at these trade shows. It's not a consumer show. It's major purchases. So, but it works when you're business. Can I talk about your homepage? Not your homepage, but a homepage of a company.
Yeah.
You go to a homepage of a company, of any major company. Let's take a software developer. There's a lot of software companies out there. What do you see when you get there on the homepage?
stock photos. Yeah. Stock photo.
Okay.
Corporate fake. Yeah.
So therefore, if you were the vice president of such and such, Sean, you'd be having that headshot, something like that. Yeah. Whatever. If you were a physician, you'd be wearing a white coat. You know what would get more attention? If you and your two kids were sitting at a pier with fishing lines, or you were with your dog, or with your two kids in their pajamas, depending on their age, people go get that. You get that. It's the human part of it. So let's look at the webpage of most software companies. It's got the click here. They tell you everything they could ever done for every other client and what they can do for you, all that stuff. But suppose you had a block. It says, if you have a big bang software problem, ask Dr. Sheldon Cooper for the solution. Call 555-1212. Now, I use Big Bang in there. Hopefully everybody or a lot of people know what the Big Bang Theory is and know who Dr. Sheldon Cooper is.
Right.
So you're going to say, I'm going to call this number. And you got to cast the right person, or you got to cast people to man the line. And when you call, let's say I answer the phone and says, Dr. Sheldon Cooper, how can I help you? So you're going to play along with me. So I'll say, my IQ was 187 because my mother had me tested. Do you like Star Wars? I'll get into the thing because you're playing along. Well, let's go with your problem. I'll see if I could do it. Well, I'm going to have to ask Wolowitz or ask Hofstetter what they think. Can I call you back? Somewhere along the line, but you have a script. But you got to find, who the best person is, not the marketing guy. You're looking for the kid, young adult, the millennial who does karaoke. Who goes to the improv comedy clubs and always wanted to do improv because it's so ridiculous. They're going to want to hear more from you about their problem. You get in rather than promising you could fix all their software solutions. So it's all showmanship. But have fun with it. And trust me, if you're the guy who has the broomstick up your rear end, I don't want to do business with you anyway. I'm going to be the customer from hell. Even if I sign a contract with you, I'm going to drive you crazy. And you're going to say, I should have done what Elliot said. Walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think fun in business has, I don't know where it went, but one of the best franchises here in the Austin area is a taco place, and it's called Torchy's Tacos, and their slogan is "Damn good tacos." And they've got like a little devil, like a cherub looking devil, it's like a baby devil is what it is, and all all their stores are different. Like, even though it's not really a franchise, it's privately owned, but they have every location looks the same but different. Really fun, big graphics, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Is it dine-in?
It is.
Okay. Let's say you're the owner.
Okay.
Let's talk about the political situation.
Yep.
They've been closed for months, haven't they?
Correct.
They've been doing carry out. They've been doing delivery. Now, suppose I came up to you. Do they know you in the one that you go to? Do they know?
Probably not. No, I don't need there that much, but.
Okay. So suppose I'm your server and I came up to you and said, sir, to show your loyalty to us or appreciation, if you buy a $25 gift card, we'll give you an additional $5 gift card. Would you do it or not?
Yeah.
Jonathan, would you do it or not?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, you're only getting $5 on 25. Let me up the ante. Sir, if you buy a $100 gift card, we're going to add another $100 of credit. So you're getting $200 worth of meals for $100. Would you do it?
Heck
Done.
yeah.
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 Now I got a hell yeah. Let me take it up one more notch. Sir, if you bought a $200 gift card, I'm going to give you another $100. Plus, I'm going to give you a free dessert for every member of your party every time you come in for 1 year. So that means you and your spouse come in, you and your family of 4 come in, 4 people get a free dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm passing through town, I'm not interested. But if you like their tacos and you come in there regularly, it's a good deal. But look what you're doing. You're giving away a dessert, which probably costs, let's say, $6-7 on the menu. They're probably paying a couple bucks for it. But they got, their $200 right off the top. But they're building the loyalty because you're going to start telling your friends about it.
Yep.
But if you want the $25 one for a $5 card, we can do that too. So you see, in this time when they've been closed, why go for a $25 sale when you could go to $100 to a $200 sale?
Mm-hmm. Right, and like you said, it's much more like share worthy.
Yep.
To talk about that, which because I think the first thing a restaurant owner might like, well, I can't afford to do that. That's $100. I'm already on razor thin margins. We just went through a whatever, but it's like cheap marketing because marketing's expensive, right? So if you can get somebody to tell 5 or 10 people what Torchy's is doing, like that's cheap.
But it's not cheap. It's not expensive for him to give that food away, that extra $100. Yeah. Because, 2 people are going to blow that on at least 2 visits. They're going to get a couple of drinks or one drink, like an appetizer, dessert. So that first time it's going to disappear fast.
Right.
But they're eating in your restaurant because they like your cuisine. They didn't go to a Chinese restaurant or Italian restaurant or all American restaurant. They came to your restaurant, and most people, might jump on it, but you got nothing to lose. All good things come to those who ask.
Right.
No one ever died from rejection or a bad haircut.
And in that case, they're probably going to tell some people they know about it, some of their friends. Hey, guess what I got?
There you go.
Let me tell you about this deal.
In this time of woe. Now, if we didn't have this situation going on right now, there's other issues. There's other marketing things that you don't do what every other restaurant does. I mean, I get a bunch of emails every week from the restaurants, the major chains, things like that. But they don't out. I hate to use the word out of the box, but it's the marketing people are doing it. They never thought of running a focus group. They never thought of getting a psychologist to look at it from the consumer's viewpoint. I mean, do you got a bagel shop near you? Donut shop that you go to?
Oh yeah.
All right, what bagel shop you go to? They don't have bagels in Austin.
No, I don't have many bagel shops here I go to, but when I was in Knoxville, I'd go to Einstein's Bagel.
All right, there you go, Einstein's.
Yeah, I like Einstein's.
Okay, Einstein's has 6 opportunities to touch the customer. I go in there, I get everything bagel with a schmear and a cup of coffee, and you got 6 opportunities to touch me. If I had the CEO, whose name is Jose, on the line right now, he probably wouldn't be able to tell me more than 3 or 4. But there are 6 opportunities to touch the customer. And one of the things I would say, if Jonathan worked for me, I would say, Jonathan, you know that guy in line? Well, I mean, he's here every day. Do you know his name? No. Okay. I want you to tell him your name, and I want you to find out his name. So when he's here tomorrow, you could say, hi, Sean. When you're in line tomorrow and you hear a guy say, hi, Sean, how's that make you feel? Like $1 million.
It's like Cheers. Yeah. It's like being at Cheers.
Exactly. Nobody likes anything better than hearing their own name.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that, but there's 5 more ways to touch that customer. So I'm always, the only thing I'm pitching, I'm not selling advertising specialties that every company has seen before. I'm selling something they've never seen or heard. So if they like it, they like it. If they don't, but you know what? If I walked out with no sale, I had a good time. I had fun pitching you. It was showmanship. I mean, you know, it's like going up to Neil Diamond and saying, oh, Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline, it's my favorite song. Really? No one's told me that before. You really like that song? Well, I saw you at Madison Square Garden in 1978. Wait a minute. Were you sitting up in the balcony on the right side? You know, but the point is I get off on jerking people's chains, having fun, you know.
And that's cool.
It's cool. I'm not being...
Here's the thing, though, you know, and Sean touched on it earlier. A lot of people, that's outside of their comfort zone. And that's the biggest barrier to overcome for a lot of people is getting outside of their comfort zone and getting uncomfortable.
Time out. Fold your hands. Fold your hands so we could see it. Okay. Right. No, keep them folded, Jonathan. Now I want you to fold them the other way. Just move your fingers, fold them the other way.
What, like that?
Is that different?
Yeah.
How's it feel?
Uncomfortable.
Sean, how's it feel?
Not too bad, but yeah, it's
unusual. Yeah. I took you out of your comfort zone because you've been folding your hands the same way your whole life. It's not painful. It didn't hurt. It felt uncomfortable. It felt unusual because you've never done it before. So that's what I'm showing the client, that it's not going to hurt you, but it's different. I mean, if I had that restaurant, that taco place, you know what I would have? My Japanese invisible fish in my aquarium right out in front. And the sign would say, feeding daily at 6 p.m., feeding daily. Every day at 6 p.m., we'd come out with a bucket of ice and we'd let our customers feed the Japanese invisible fish. You'd have every newspaper in Austin doing a story. Every TV station would be doing a story. And you know what it cost you? Free advertising.
Yeah, the kids would be lined up at 6 o'clock to feed the invisible fish.
There you go. So when you go there for tacos next week or whenever they open, you just tell them, I met this guy on line. Love that. I met this guy on line. Love that one.
Yeah. So go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to say, you know, that it makes me think of when I think of like the barrier of getting over that uncomfortable feeling. It makes me think about Sean and I have a buddy. His name is Tim Davis. And was that your phone?
Let it ring. That's okay. Hey, while it's ringing, let me ask you a question. Do you like me? Am I a good guest?
Yeah, you're great. You got to turn that phone off.
Yes.
Do you like me? Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. All right. That's the last ring. Okay, go ahead.
So we've got a friend. He's in the he coaches mortgage. He's a coach and trainer in the mortgage industry.
Real estate mortgage, yeah.
Yeah, real estate mortgage. And so his all about, his line is same as lame. So he's all about personal branding and getting out there, which, goes into what we're talking about today. But he likes to wear paintball jackets and paintball pants where he goes. It looks like somebody shot him with a paintball gun. And so he's loud every time he goes. That's his personal brand. He stands out. Most people are uncomfortable. And I played golf with this guy a number of times. He's one of the co-authors. He co-authored my book on selling on the green. And we go to, I remember the first time I went golfing with him, he wore these loudmouth, I think that's a brand, Loudmouth Golf.
Yeah. John Daly's brand.
Yeah, John Daly's brand. He wore them on the course, and he got so many people would walk up to him, and just that total strangers would walk up to him, start a conversation. They would have never started a conversation had he been wearing just straight khakis or normal, normal pair of pants. But because he's, this is his brand, he wears it everywhere for the most part. I think there are times that he takes off, but at the golf course, especially, he put on his paintball pants, and sure enough, we're walking out to the car, and there's people stopping Tim. Hey, man. And they were asking him about his pants. Of course, that strikes up another conversation. What do you do? And so, that one thing leads to another. He's telling him about his business, what he does, and it goes from there. But sometimes you got to get out of that comfort zone to be, if you want to garner people's attention, that's what you got to do. It feels uncomfortable at first, but you got to get over that.
See, my favorite color is magenta, hot pink. And I'll probably have about...
I would have never guessed that on video.
Really? So anyway, I got probably about 8-10 pair of pink socks. And whenever I go to a trade show, I'll either wear pink or purple. And a woman will always comment on my socks. And I'll say, would your husband wear these socks? Oh, heavens, no. Or mentioning golf, I volunteer for a lot of golf tournaments. And finally, one tournament that I did last year got... it's a charity event every Monday at different golf courses in the area. They got a pink shirt, orchid colored shirt. And the guys would say, pink. Except, or if I'm somewhere and I see an older guy, he's wearing a pink shirt, and I'll say, sir, I'm guessing you got that shirt as a gift. I did. And when you got it, you said, I'll never wear this. You're right. But people compliment you all the time. They do. And I says, most of them are women, right? Yeah. but every golfer has a blue, white, gray, black.
Yeah.
And when you give away a shirt that you're going to be wearing with your your logo on it. Yeah. So with your friend who plays golf, I mean, he's right on target.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Man, we're time is flying by, and I'm about out of beverage, so that means the show's just about over. So,
wait, did you have a good time?
Yeah, oh yeah, had a good time. Did you have a good time?
I did. I mean, I looked at my watch and I see we've been talking for almost an hour, and they told me they like me, and what else could I ask for?
That's 2 out of 3, right?
You realize, what I have to do after we're done? I got to start my proposal for that. Which is
Persuasion by the Porterhouse Steak.
With Porterhouse Steaks.
I got it. I locked it in. Yeah. So I want my royalty on that. I'd like a ribeye for every porterhouse that you get.
Hey, Sean, behind you, are those your Olympic medals that are hanging up?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're for 2020. The one that got postponed. Yeah. Those are my Spartan race medals for, I did a trifecta in 1 year. So, I also in the closet, I have a unicorn skin in my closet right off camera that you can't see.
What you can't see is the picture over there. See that picture?
Yeah.
That's an autographed picture from Cal Ripken Jr. And then
Iron Man.
Right there is an autographed picture by the Oak Ridge Boys.
All right.
So downstairs are the Statler brothers autographs, as well as the Major League Baseball players like Max Scherzer, and you've heard of him, right?
Oh yeah.
Steven Strasburg, things like that.
Cool. Yeah.
Are you going back a ways there, man?
Yeah.
Strasburg.
On all those.
A lot of our listeners are like, Oak Ridge Boys, who that?
Oak Ridge Boys, sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, even Cal Ripken. I'm not sure a lot of our listeners know Cal Ripken. That would be an interesting poll to find out.
But you could get into music would be a great topic. Of course, we're running short on time, but music as it stands, you look at some of the entertainers out there in terms of showmanship, and you could read off a list of people that weren't just about music. They were about, you look at Elton John, I still haven't seen that movie that he's done, but you know, every show he did, he comes out, you know, it was a show. It wasn't just it was more than just a performance. So
don't go away.
Oh, there you go.
Little Richard.
Little Richard.
Sadly passed away a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I was going to mention that. That's
I've seen him 4 times, but notice how close I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your photo?
Yeah, I took the photo because I was in the first row. I got 200 photos that you could count the nose hairs. That's how people say, how'd you get that close?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think people underestimate the value of entertainment in business. Like they think entertainment is for entertainment, and they don't realize how powerful it is in business because so few people are willing to do it. So, I mean, that's my biggest takeaway for the show.
Let me share mine.
Okay.
Let me, if I may. Hopefully your listeners, your viewers see that if they're in the sales business, they need coaching, even though they've been to every sales training course, heard everything about sales, read every book, but you know, they're not trained on the relationship selling. Jonathan can vouch for that. They've never been mystery shopped. You know, they've never been had the coach go with them on a sales call or listen to on the telephone to a sales call. They've been through the training. We don't know, and they don't know metrics. You know, what are the metrics that you're looking for? And that's personally, as we're closing out, that's the hardest thing to explain the value of metrics. So you're keeping score to see if it was worth it to put your sales team through the training.
So as we wrap up, unless Jonathan, you have any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
So Elliot, how can people find out more about you, what you do? I know you retired like at 35, like what was that, 2 years ago? But see, retirement is what turns your hair gray. It's not the work, it's the retirement, right? Because your hair turned gray after you retired. So it must be the retirement. Can't be the work.
Too many birthdays.
Too many birthdays. Oh, okay.
Okay. You know, here's a good example. On my business card, there's no email address, there's no website. And a woman comes up to me, a senior vice president of a large insurance company, comes up to me at a break and she says, I called my secretary to Google you, and you gave me your business card earlier, but there's no information aside from your phone number. So I says, well, how do you get in touch with me? She says, I got to call you. I says, yeah, that works. But the thing is that when people want to get in touch with me, all they have to do, my name's right there. You Google me. If you're smart enough to find me, trust me, there's enough information. You Google Elliot Jaffa. That's, you know, if you're not going to put any effort into it, I don't want to do business with you. So when you do it yourself or you have one of your gophers do it, my name's Elliot Jaffa. You Google me. I live in Arlington, Virginia. I'm in the phone book. For those of you who don't know what a phone book is,
what's that?
Yeah, it's this big fat thing. You don't have to go to. You know. So, you know, I'm an old white guy with white hair. Come on, cut me some slack.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff. So, Jonathan, I'll let you take us out.
Yeah, Elliot, thanks for coming on today. It's been fun. Hope things kind of. What's that?
You say that to everybody, right? It's been fun.
Not everybody.
Not everybody. Depends on how many laughs. Yeah, you notice I've laughed quite a few times.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, if you replay this, sit there and count the number of times each of you laugh with a tick mark. I bet I come up with a high Q rating for the per minute of our hour together. Yep. So we've all had fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to start a new rating for the podcast. The laugh factor on the giggle factor. There we go.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the laugh track.
You didn't even need to play it. You guys did it yourselves. Honest to goodness. Because when I look at this, when you post it online, I'm going to be counting
Yep.
The number of times each of you laughed. And I have 2 columns. One's going to be John. One's going to be Sean. Each time I saw your teeth or heard something come out of your mouth that sounded like a giggle, you do the same thing, and we'll see how close the 3 of us are for reliability. That's called reliability and validity.
Yeah.
That's measurable. So
I laugh because I'm a man, and Jonathan giggles, just for the record.
Really? A giggle?
A giggle. All right. I'll let you wrap
Elliot,
it up.
it's been fun. Thanks for coming on. Look forward to getting this out. And we will post, you do have some information we'll post on our show page, and so people can find you. But again, it's been a pleasure. We hope you have a great weekend. Best of luck. And hope things start to open up for you guys up there in the Northern Virginia area soon.
Yeah, and you guys stay well.
Yeah, you too. All right, thanks again.
Okay.
All right. Interesting. We're still on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Interesting guy. He seems like he has a lot of fun wherever he goes. So.
For sure. Yeah. That's question is, can you duplicate that? I think that would be the big question a lot of listeners might have. Is that like a personality thing, or is that a learned skill? I think it's probably a little of both.
I think it is too. I think that I was listening to Scott Adams recently on a podcast, and he says when you get wealthy enough, you really stop caring what people think. It becomes easier to just put yourself out there and not even care what people think,
Yeah. Which I think, I don't even think it's necessarily wealth. I think there's a certain age where that starts to happen more and more.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, as I get older, I care less and less. I mean, I still probably care too much, but there's an old saying that I remember. I don't know where I first heard it, but it was something. At 20 years old, you're worried about what everybody thinks about you. At 40, what was it? 20, you're worried what everybody thinks about it. At 40, you don't care what anybody thinks about you. And at 60, you realize nobody was ever thinking about you.
Exactly.
So it's like now I'm kind of between those two phases because I'm 49. So I'm right in the middle, where I realize that people actually, they're not even looking at me. They're not even thinking about me 23 hours and 59 minutes of the day.
Yeah.
And that's if I happen to run into them in the day. And it's like, you can be as crazy as you want to be. You can be as silly as you want to be. I've worn unicorn costumes and pig costumes and things like that. And I always get the most comments on, and that's memorable for people. And
it is.
And
it's kind of a superpower in a lot of ways. It's it shows to you what the perception that you portray when you're like that is that you could care less.
Yeah.
And so it makes it actually, it puts you on a higher pedestal, because you're oblivious to anybody's comments or what they think.
And what really happens is when we see that kind of stuff, when you're out with Tim, it's you're like, man, there's a part of you that says, man, I wish I had the guts to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that resonates with everybody when you do something like that, that's a little over the top, a little crazy.
Yeah.
They may think that, oh, I could never do that. But there's a part of them that's there's just a level of respect that happens if you're willing to do it.
Sure.
And I see that with Rudy, who I work with now, and some of the stuff that he does online and the way he does his ads and stuff like that. He's willing to do some stuff that's a little edgy and, a little silly in some cases, a little over the top.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that usually works because everything else looks, beige and vanilla.
Sure.
It's not a Ben and Jerry's flavor. It's Breyer's vanilla, which is great and it tastes great, but it's not the same as Ben and Jerry's bourbon pecan ice cream.
That's next level.
That's good stuff right there. So that was my takeaway. And that was a good guest. And
so what is so I'm just curious. So I'm going to get into, because we kind of touched on politics.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to what your thoughts are, because I know in the political news, so we've had, we've had COVID. Now we've had protesting riots recently. So,
Yep.
you see a lot of I think you're seeing some showmanship in the news today.
I would actually disagree. I would say we're seeing a lot of posturing.
Yeah.
I don't think we're seeing really good showmanship.
Right. I think that's a good way to put it. More posturing than really.
I do think, and I know there's people that would probably, they're going to send in hate mail on this. I do think that Trump walking across the street to the church was some pretty good showmanship.
I do too.
Love him or hate him, like that was actually a pretty, because people were calling out for hiding in a bunker.
Mm-hmm.
So he strolls across the White House, across the street, and yes, I know they cleared the street for him and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he knows where the camera frames are, and he knows most people will see just the sound bites. So there's definitely some showmanship there.
And who's he marketing to? He's marketing to
his base,
to his core base. Yeah.
Right.
So he could care less. He knows he's going to get the flack from people that hate his guts and don't like him, but that's not who he was. That's not who he was positioning himself with. He was reinforcing himself with, I think, a lot of his core constituents.
Right. And I think that's what you have to realize in the showmanship is in business is it's probably going to put you more at odds with the people who aren't your market.
That's right.
But the people who are your market are going to love you.
They're going to love you. Yeah. And that may be 35%, but still 35% or 20% or whatever percentage that is. It's not going. Yeah. It's not going to, it's probably not going to be the majority, but it's going to be a lot of people. I mean,
yeah, they're going to be super loyal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they respect you. I mean, I think Tim Davis again, like there's a lot of real estate agents will be like, well, that's really corny. You know,
of course.
I'm professional. I sell high-end homes. I can't do those kind of things, but you and I and Tim know that, the agents that follow his stuff make a lot of money and sell a lot of houses and do a lot of, on the mortgage broker side, do a lot of deals that other people don't because they're willing to step out there. And I mean, Dan Kennedy's been teaching this for years.
Sure.
With the stuff that he puts out, the football shaped invitation this year, I think because I think Peyton Manning's speaking at the next Info Summit. I got the big,
oh, wow. Okay.
I got the big football, shaped and colored postcard in the mail. Being willing to do that kind of stuff. That's showmanship.
Sure.
That's showmanship. We've talked about salesmanship in print, basic copy.
Yeah.
But there's showmanship in print. There's showmanship on the web.
Right.
And that's, you think about Dollar Shave Club and the ad they did and those kind of things, Poopery, that's all showmanship.
Oh yeah.
And now Poopery is a, $300-400 million business.
It really is.
For stuff that you literally flush down the toilet. Like you buy a product and flush it down the toilet. And it's a $400 million business or whatever it is now. So you got to be willing, I think, it's a good reminder for me to do a little bit more because everybody's trying to push the boundary in other ways. And if you can just be a little sillier and have a little more fun, you can get a lot further than trying to come up with the next, clever tactic or, because silly and fun is different than trying to be clever or like it doesn't play the same way. And you have to be aware of the difference, I think. So how are you going to use this when things open them back up? Are you going to start wearing costumes into your manufacturing meetings?
Dress up like loudmouth. Yeah, loudmouth golf. And
no, you should be like the Tin Man since you're in manufacturing.
Yeah, that'll go over really well. Complete safety hazard there. No, but I think there's, the talking about Tim, it reminds me one of my a show that's on, and I've mentioned this to you before. Is a show called Better Call Saul, and so it's a show. It's kind of a spinoff. I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably have watched this. It's a spinoff of that the show Breaking Bad. So this is kind of a prequel to that. And I don't know if you've ever caught any of those episodes, but the main character on the show, he's a lawyer and his real name is Jimmy McGill. That's his real name, but he goes by a pseudonym, or he goes by his I guess his lawyer name. He's changed his name to Saul Goodman. So it's all good, man, And so he wears, instead of wearing a professional, black suit or gray suit, like some lawyers, or navy blue or something like that, he's decided, he's changed his image. It's Saul Goodman, and he wears a red jacket or a plaid jacket, or and gets attention. And that's and he does these crazy cheesy commercials on TV that are just people will just, you watch them and they're hilariously cheesy, but for him they work, because he's marketing to his core audience, which is usually people that are looking to hire a lawyer to get them some money fast.
Yeah. Well, it's like, every town has that crazy used car salesman, right? And or even new car, like just a car salesman. And I know there in Knoxville, it's, I can't remember his name, but the dealer for the people. Like, I still remember Jason Ferris. Like, see, I can still remember his name.
Well, oh man, what? Yeah, I don't know.
Jason Ferris. He's like the dealer for the people. And there's a guy here in Austin that there must be a marketing company that is selling these scripts, because there's a guy here that does the exact same thing.
That's hilarious.
And so there's obviously a package you can buy for that. But the fact that they're willing to do that, like, it makes it memorable, So, yeah. So I think back to the free money from the government guy back in, what was that? The early 2000s, probably.
Matthew Lesko.
Matthew Lesko wore the suit with the dollar bills and the question marks and all that kind of stuff on it. Or I guess it was dollar bills. That kind of stuff.
I interviewed that guy years back. I did.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff. And the fact is, most people are just scared to do it.
Yeah, they are. It's getting over that comfort zone. Makes me think of that book, who is it? Dan Kennedy's old partner, Bill. Is it Bill Glazer?
Bill Glazer. Yeah.
Yeah. Did the outrageous marketing stuff. Stuff like that. That book comes to mind when we talk about this. So,
yeah. And that's the thing. You could do this in different ways. You don't have to do it personally. Right. You could do it in print. You could have another way to do that is to have the cartoon character, like some type of mascot for your business.
Yeah.
That is free to say anything. Like, if you have a dog or a pig or something else, or a cartoon character, they can get away with a lot more.
Oh, sure.
Than you can as an individual.
Yep.
Because it's the character. It's not, anything else. It's like when I worked at capitalism.com, I was trying to get them to create a Cappy the Pig character.
Yep.
They didn't take it, but it's like an internal thing. Like we have our own internal Cappy the Pig, but it didn't get rolled out, but that's the kind of stuff that you could definitely do.
Right.
And I know there's cartoonists in that whole Dan Kennedy world.
Oh yeah.
That's what they do.
Well, do you remember, I remember years ago, a local company that they sold, their product was, they sold toner and ink cartridges for business, offices, local offices. Mm-hmm. And they recycled a lot of their printer cartridges and things like that. It was a company called New Cycle.
Yeah.
And one of their mascots is exactly what you were talking about. That was Captain New Cycle. And they would do all these radio ad spots. I mean, they were really popular at the time.
Yeah.
But it was Captain New Cycle. And they would have a little skit on the radio of Captain New Cycle. And he had a sidekick. I forgot what his sidekick was. But it was always good. They would always have these scripted out stories, for their ads. But it was catchy. And people, definitely remembered it.
Well, it's like we've talked about before. It's that hyperbole effect where it's so over the top.
Yep.
That even if you discount it, you're still like,
yeah.
Oh, well, maybe this is true.
It is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously if they're going that bold, it must be somewhat true.
Right.
So you kind of get that effect.
Yep.
I think when you do the big characters, and of course you got the voices, so everything's more memorable. Yeah. Because obviously superhero, especially cartoon superhero voices are just over the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those guys are easy to find on Fiverr and other places, they can do all those voices. So yeah, good stuff. I guess the big lesson here is to up your showmanship.
Yeah. Step
in your
out on a
business.
limb. Absolutely.
So,
well, man, it's been fun. Again, you can always find us at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on any of your podcast platforms. And right now we're live on just about all of them, all of our social media platforms, because we've upped our game to StreamYard, Sean. So
yeah.
Takes a lot of the headache out of all of that. But again, we look forward to seeing you guys next time around, next week, next episode. And until then, thanks again for joining us.
See ya.